He hurts their feelings. That's it. That's all he does, is he hurts their feelings. Like, share, and subscribe, please. Get that done first of all. Get it out the way. If you've got any hypes left, get the video hyped up too. Very important to support this channel. As we close in on 100,000 subscribers, you have been magnificent. But of course, without you, it's just me talking to myself, basically in the mirror. So like, share, subscribe, leave your comments below, and hit the hype button. I'm going to talk Virgil van Dijk on this show as well. Okay, we're going to speak about what's just been said about Mikel Arteta, and we sort of predicted this a few weeks ago. No, let me rephrase that. We 100%, I'm being a bit too modest, predicted what is now coming, and we're going to talk about that. I want to speak about a big piece on Van Dijk as well, because I've been critical of this man, but are people now going over the top? Are they contributing towards killing the game? Want your thoughts, want your opinions on all of it. But let's start here with Simon Jordan talking. Again, one of the lead voices on the most listened to sports radio show in the world. Let's take a little listen to what he says here.
I find Arteta at times slightly irksome, because, and so do you, if you're honest. Right?
I get on with him quite well, actually.
Well, some of the ideas of what he complains.
Irksome. By the way, I've never really. I've heard someone irks me. Right? Irksome. Is it got like a different meaning? I'm just going to Google it now. Irritating, annoying, vexing, vexatious. That's an interesting one. Does that say galling? Interesting. Tiresome. Grating, annoying. Okay. We always someone irks you, but I've never heard anyone actually use the word irksome before. But we'll get back to the content anyway. Arteta is irksome, and I'm going to tell you why this is so important later.
About it, not his personality, because he does whine and bitch and moan and doesn't see things. And you know, ultimately, we saw the situation last night when Arsenal played Newcastle. We see things that he complains about, which you kind of think it was the ball last year when they played in the Carragher Cup. It was the bleeding balls.
Well, but that's just wrong. This is what I mean. He didn't complain about the balls. He didn't. He was asked a question about the balls by the journalist. He didn't voluntarily say the balls are the reason we lost. The balls are too difficult. All he stated is that the balls take some adapting to because they are different. But he didn't bring it up voluntarily. He was asked, and this is what the media do. They ask you a question, you answer it honestly, and then they twist it into, you're making excuses. That isn't what happened whatsoever. It's a bit like player has a baby. Player has a bad game, and in the interview, the player has said that I messed my chances up today, I just wasn't good enough, etc., etc. Oh, what's it like having a baby at the moment, newborn baby for the first time? Yeah, you know what it's like. It's tiring. There's a lot of sleepless nights and a lot more to do than before, but we're getting through it. Player X blames newborn baby for lack of form. It's just ridiculous on every level that the media lies in this way.
Used to playing with his balls, which is why our forwards kept whacking the ball 50 yards over the bar. And
it's not what he said.
That sort of stuff gets on people's nerves. And if you're honest, it probably will get on your nerves.
But it gets on people's nerves because they're too stupid to understand the media is manipulating it. Manipulating it.
Yeah, the ball want to stay in a good camp with him so you can interview him next time, then you go ahead with that.
No, we had a bit of back and forth last night, actually, over the schedule.
I think he's done a good job. I think he's got to win something, and I think that I think this season is a telling season for him. Not because I want
validation for the project as well, isn't it?
Oh, this idea of a project.
No, you would like to invest in a manager and not have to keep chopping and changing.
Yes, of course, but it depends what your blueprint is. You've now turned Arsenal into a competitive team that is no longer in a sort of managed decline, which was happening until Kroenke decided A, he was going to invest more, and B, they got rid of Usmanov, right? And Usmanov put his shares up for himself for whatever reason he decided to do that. And once he got control of that, and they put Josh in situ, and they started to drive Arsenal again and stop thinking about it as a sort of arm's length subsidiary of American businesses and see it for what it was, Arsenal have prospered. But you cannot, if you're an Arsenal, and part and parcel, we know now that once upon a time, competing could make you worth something valuable. We now know that winning is also a big formula for capital value, because if people want to look at the value of Manchester City, they've won things. As a brand, they're building up to catch up with the Uniteds and the Liverpools of the world, and they're not far from it now because they've kept on winning. But it's winning that's catapulted their capital value. And the idea that Tottenham have got to a certain value, and then Lewis family have gone, actually, if we actually won a few bloody things, we could actually increase the capital value. Now, with Arsenal, it's wonderful that they're now a side that participates in the top four again, which is what was criticised of Arsene Wenger, and he's achieved it as a staple diet. But to be a successful football team, they have to win something. And
look, nobody disagrees with that element. But what I find very interesting is the Arteta irks me. Let's be honest. We all dislike each other's managers. We do. But in terms of maturing, as I got older, I realised that the same things I love my players and managers doing, other people hate. And in return, when their clubs do it, people love it. For instance, Chelsea fans loved when Enzo Fernandez wins the ball off of Noni and he falls down. They loved how Enzo Fernandez and Cucurella turn around to their ex-teammate and they're like flexing their muscles and rah, screaming in his face. Arsenal fans will hate it. Chelsea fans will love it. It's very, very normal. I go back many moons ago. I want to say this was 2013. Old Trafford, Man United, Chelsea. Raphael, it was either Raphael or Fabio. I want to say Raphael. I could be wrong. Is booked, fouls Luis Diaz, who's laying on the floor pretending to be hurt, smiling. Chelsea fans are serenading him with love. United fans are calling him scum of the earth. It's normal. Mikel Arteta, in my personal opinion, by and large, isn't behaving any worse than anybody else's manager. It's just something to criticise them about because the football has become too good to criticise. All you have now is, yes, but they've got to win something, or he upset and hurts me. That is what the analysis has now been reduced to. Yes, if you're going to say, are they one of the greatest Arsenal teams of all time? No, not until they win something. But when you're reviewing a match, the fact that this keeps coming up tells you we've got to find something negative. We've got to find something to attack them with. Very similar to this headline that has come out today. Now, this headline has come out today, and it's all about Arsenal wanting to win the league title too much. Arsenal maybe over-celebrating when they win big games. They haven't done that this season, by the way, but still. But this is coming from the same man in Jamie Carragher, who spent a brilliant segment, by the way, and we'll play it for you in a moment, a brilliant segment talking about how amazing it was for football, how we want more of it when Enzo Maresca celebrated after beating his club Liverpool. But here he is talking about how Arsenal must maintain composure, they must reserve energy, how when they do win big games, when they do win decisive games, they shouldn't celebrate too hard because it's bad for them and it's bad for football. But as I've said, this is what the man said about Maresca only about 5 or 6 weeks ago when he celebrated a big win.
I love the manager's celebration. I loved him running down there. I can't believe he can't come in front of the cameras afterwards. That's just ridiculous. You know, afterwards you want to hear from him. As I said, for me, his biggest result, that will build a connection with the supporters. I said a lot last season with Enzo Maresca. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's a really good coach. As I said, every time they come up against Liverpool, they seem to have a plan to get the better of them. But at times, there wasn't that real connection with the supporters. And maybe that was just waning in the last few weeks again. Because obviously what happened in the summer was fantastic, but some poor results. But celebrating like that, a win like that against the champions, I think creates a really strong bond.
So keep on celebrating like that.
Yes, please, that's what we want.
Forget the cards.
They're the moments we want to see.
They're the moments we want to see. More of that, please. And I agree with everything Carragher has just said there. But when it comes to Arsenal, it's the opposite. Maintain composure, reserve your energy. Listen, I think it's harder to win a league title than finish in the top 4, no doubt. But equally, Arsenal's squad and team and manager are better than Maresca and Chelsea. Chelsea need to maintain their composure, maintain their energy to finish inside a Champions League position. We're seeing a lot of inconsistency from such a decent team at the moment. But the energy is different. And this is what we're reduced to. Don't celebrate. Arteta irks me. Until they win something, I'm not praising them. That's it. What happens when they do? What's going to happen when Arsenal do win a big trophy? And I'm starting to think they may do this year, very much so. Where's the punditry going next? Can't we review the games? Can't we talk about how good the football's looked? Can't we speak about how... Can't you actually do a segment on how you maybe stop them? Can't you educate us, as pundits used to do? What is going on here? For me, it's awful to watch in terms of punditry. It really is. But look, give me your views and give me your opinions on that. Now, I wanted to speak about this. Well, Craig Burley here talking about Liverpool and Virgil van Dijk. Liverpool have been under a litany of scrutiny as of late. Slots, change of system, the new players not being good enough, Salah and Van Dijk being nowhere near their levels. Some blaming all of it on Arne Slot. Some blaming it on the ownership. I actually put a lot of blame their way. If they've allowed all these things to be changed at the same time, it is absolutely ridiculous. But individual players must also be held to account as well. But let's see what Craig Burley has had to say here. I want to get your views and opinions on this.
He does everything wrong. Pass, doesn't close it down and turns his back like a coward. I'm fed up. I'm fed up of sitting here and it's Mo Salah who's not played well. Florian Wirtz, he can't find his feet. Alexander Isak, he's not. Ekitike, the midfield, the dynamics change. He's the barometer of what's wrong this year. He's supposed to be the leader. Both, by what he does on the field and how he manipulates the back line and talks to people. All he's done all season is throw Carragher under the bus who didn't play, throws his arms up in the air. He's making as many mistakes as any other player. They're not always as high profile as Kanate or anybody else, who've all made mistakes. But Van Dijk, every game you could watch him and go, what's he doing? It's just absolutely crazy. And he seems to be coming out of it relatively unscathed, and it's everybody else's fault.
It's really interesting because when I was younger, I took a little bit of interest in politics for a very small period of time. Of course, I follow politics now as a layman, as a member of public. I don't talk about it publicly though, and I'm never going to. I don't think I'll never say never in life. But as of right now, I've got no plans to ever talk about it. The biggest reason being, I don't feel like I know enough. I don't feel like I'm experienced enough to really do that. That's just my view. Anyway, I was taught something, and I don't remember who said it to me. It was at work when I was a young man, 17, 18 years old, and one of the old heads, one of the older geezers there said it, where I don't even know what we were exactly talking about, but he said whenever in politics you get a rise on one side of the aisle, so suddenly you'll start to see a lot of left-wing people rise up, come into power, social elements change, the sort of dominant culture becomes very left-wing. He says what you end up getting at some point down the line is this massive rise on the right-hand side that counterbalances it. And then it goes right. And then what will happen is the left rises and it balances and it goes left. It does this over time. And it just was listening to someone at the time was probably in his 60s, and I was a very young man. Just listening to an experienced person talk, I thought was important. I see that in football punditry with Van Dijk this season. I feel that the praise has been massive, sometimes warranted. Sometimes I still feel over the top. When Jamie Carragher said he's just too good for the highest level of football, I always felt that was an exaggeration. When he was the best centre-back in the world, and I think for 4 or 5 years I had him as the best in the world, it was, no, he isn't. What do you mean he's not the best in the world? He's the best ever. It's like, okay, now we're going too far in relation to that. But what I now think we're seeing is at the first moment, there's because the last time he had a bad period, he'd just come back from an ACL injury, so there was a reasoning. At the first moment, there's a chance to really criticise him. People are going all in. It's that counterbalancing moment to say, well, no, we'll look at him. He's captain. They're going for adversity. He needs to step up. He needs to be elite. And by the way, this has been labelled at many other captains in the last 3 or 4 years in the Premier League when they've gone through where teams are in bad moments. What's the captain doing? How is he rising them up? What is his individual performances like? And they have not been good enough. But I am going to treat Van Dijk with the same energy as when he was overpraised. Now that he's being over-criticised, I think people are doing too much. Yes, he's the captain. Yes, he's the leader. But I don't think... I don't understand. Someone's going to have to explain it to me because I don't have an answer to this. What does he have to do leadership-wise? When we go, he's got to lead. Okay, what does he literally, physically have to do, tangibly do, to help make this team better? What is it he's not doing that you think is this big contributing factor to them struggling? I admit he's not in great form and he deserves to be criticised. And you might put more criticism on him because he's seen as the best player at the club or the best centre-back at the club. That's all fair. I put more criticism. So, for instance, if Cunha has a bad game and Mount has a bad game at Man United, I'm more angry at Cunha. He's a better player. I expect more from him. I get all of that. But the leadership tag is what I'm challenging here. What is it he has to do or isn't doing tangibly? Don't say just be a leader. Don't make it vague. What is it he's got to do? Because again, I'll criticise the overpraising at times. Better than Maldini, better than Terry, better than Campbell, better than Rio. Facts, not even close. Shouldn't even be allowed to play football. He's so good. I'll criticise that overpraise. I feel like the criticism's going too far as well. But I want your thoughts and I want your opinions on this, please. Can't wait to read your comments back as ever. Listen, you guys have just listen. We've got the Football Terrace, my main platform. I know many of you watch that as well. But thank you to so many of you that tune into my personal channel, which is more an opinion piece place. I love doing content over here, and I want to thank you all as we start to close towards that 100,000 subscriber mark. I'm after my third plaque. You can see one there, one just there behind me. We're after the third plaque. It would be amazing to get it. So I want to thank you all very much indeed. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. See you soon. Peace.